Today we're going to talk about how to give your robot monitor system view additional flexibility with group views. Group views bring a hierarchical structure to your views by allowing you to create groups and groups within groups and groups within groups within groups, ultimately splitting up your various metric displays into a hierarchical navigation structure. For instance, what you're currently looking at is what's called the principal group. I have a group created called repository that contains four other groups. It contains my BRMS group, my status indicators group, my adapter status group, and my banking group. What you're seeing in the color code is the most severe threshold associated with the elements that are in each one of these groups. For instance, if I double click on QProgrammer down, now I see the contents of my status indicators group. My QProgrammer subsystem is down. Likewise, if I double click on my BRMS group, my expired volumes metric is less than 25. That's the most severe of my metrics in this list. Likewise, my T24 group has many metrics. I have my T24 subsystem status and all the jobs running in that subsystem, but everything is good, everything's up and running, so everything's color-coded green. So to create a group, it's simply a matter of saying group, create a new group. For the structure, we recommend you create a repository or a top-level hierarchy to put all of your groups into. So I'm going to create a new group in my repository group. Your choice is to create a bar group, which is a vertical bar group, or a text group. We'll do one of each during this demonstration. Let's start with the text group. We will call this group robot with a short description of robot. And ultimately what we're going to add to this group are all of my RBT sleeper jobs. So if you do have any other robot products outside of Robot Monitor, such as Robot Schedule, Robot Console, Robot Network, Robot Alert, you will probably be aware that there's a subsystem called RBT Sleeper, and there's a number of never-ending jobs that exist there. So we can click and drag metrics into this group. For instance, subsystem status, RBT Sleeper. All right, my sleeper subsystem is active. Another way to add additional elements to this group is by right-clicking on the group, selecting Group Properties for the group that you just created. Then you can add elements that apply to all systems, because this group will exist in all of your system views, or you can select items that are specific to this system. And that's what I'd like to do. So I'm going to select job status, and then I'm going to select all of my robot sleeper job statuses. I've selected all of my job statuses for this system, and I'll say OK. So now they're all part of this group called robot. Now everything is active, so my highest level severity that's been breached is a 00 or low level severity. So that's what I see displayed here, and it's the first element in my group. I can always drill into the group and I can see the status, but the highest severity will always display. Some other options you have are, for instance, to auto hide this group, and what that does now is it provides a pop-up here on the edge of the display. So when I hover my mouse there, that group will automatically pop up. Otherwise, I need to go to the group, open any group, and I could select that particular group alone, or I could navigate via group, open any group, and select the higher level group that my robot group is a part of. I could see the highest level severity, and then I can drill into that. Now let's see what happens when one of my jobs ends. What does that look like here in my high level view, or my repository group? I've ended one of the jobs in my RBT Sleeper subsystem, and we can see exactly what job that is. Drilling into that now, I can hover and it says that that job is no longer active. Also, you can resize these to get a better look at exactly the monitor name that's involved. Let's look at another example. In this case, instead of a text group, we'll create a bar group. Group, create a new group. I will put this group inside of my repository and I will call it file sizes. Currently the group is empty. You can see it here in my repository group. Let's add a couple of monitors. Let's start with QSpool, QHIST files, Robot HA journal receivers, and perhaps my audit journal receiver as well. Now I don't have any thresholds that have been exceeded. If I did, or if I added a threshold, the highest level threshold would be displayed here in my group view, but I can always drill in. Let's add a threshold to see what will happen to the view. What I've done is I've added a 300 megabyte threshold to my default for object size thresholds. You can see the vertical bar has changed to orange, and the group view shows exactly what file has exceeded the threshold, and it is color coded appropriately. So at this point I could drill into that. I could see what the issue was, and once again, if I wanted to use the auto hide feature, I can do that as well. So now simply by hovering my mouse on the group, I can see my file sizes. One other tip that I have for you regarding group views is that if you would prefer to be more specific as to what is included in each one of these groups, you can modify the presentation. Let's do that. I'm going to modify my file size group by selecting Properties for File Size Group, Default Presentation. At the bottom is the label template where you can use variable information. Certainly that is worth experimenting with. Or you can use a static label. I'm going to label this File Sizes. So we know there's an issue here. It's color-coded orange, but to actually see the issue, I need to double-click on it to see what file has exceeded the threshold. By utilizing the variable information in the default presentation, you could choose short and long description of the element or group, short and long description of the threshold, and so forth. Let's give that a try. This is worth a little bit of experimentation. So for instance, I could say short description of the element and the long description of the threshold that's been exceeded. So that is now what's going to display as the header of my group. And then I can always drill into that to get to the details. Groups are worth a little bit of experimentation. If you do have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to product support. Thanks for listening.